It's time for Vision Talk, and our good friend Theresa McMordie is here. Hang on, Theresa, I'll get the right one on. It's fine right there, love.
Okay.
Hi, good to see you.
Hi, it's great to be here.
Yes, this Monday came quickly because Thanksgiving was later. I'm not sure who to blame.
It's come around far too quickly this month.
Yeah, it's come around quickly. But, of course, you know, we like to talk specifically for this Vision Talk about, you know, the holiday season coming up.
Yes.
And folks with vision loss dealing with hosting or being hosted, for that matter, you know, over the holidays and attending things like outings and, of course, you know, company festive occasions and so on and so forth. So a lot to jump into because, you know, as you've talked about many times, people having the tools to feel comfortable in their surroundings, whether they have low vision or no vision, for that matter. You know, it just takes, you know, a little bit of folks paying attention, and it can be a great time that is had by all, right?
Yes. So particularly for those who are new to vision loss, for sure, having some tips can help. So I'm told. So before you arrive at a gathering, I think it's really useful if you set up yourself for success and you... Sorry, I've gone completely blank, hasn't it? It's been such a busy day. I'm so sorry, everybody. I just went completely blank. But for the gatherings, it's really good to have some tips. Because when you arrive at a social situation, when we're sighted, you know, we make eye contact, we wave, we smile, we point to where we're going to meet somebody. But with low vision, of course, you're not able to do that. Low vision and when you're blind. So... the less sight you have, the more I feel, from talking to my clients, the better prepared to be. So my first tip is to call the host and get as much basic information as you possibly can about the type of event, where it's going to be held. Is it a sit-down meal or a buffet? A music event, you know, where will you meet? What will people be wearing even is useful.
That's a big thing for those without vision to think about the preparation. Often you need the assistance of someone to decide what you're going to wear out to a fancy party or something, or a holiday party at least. Yes,
definitely. And perhaps most importantly, ask who else is coming. Because if you have some friends already going on the guest list, then the next step would be for you to call them.
Contact them, yeah.
And if you're not going with anybody, then ask for a ride. You know, some people get very nervous about asking or apprehensive about asking for a ride because we like to be independent. We like to be able to do things for ourselves, but asking for a ride and arrange to meet them. You know, if you're arriving, arrange where you're going to meet your friends at the event. And also arranging, if it's a food, you know, you're having some food, arrange to be with somebody that you're comfortable with, that you can ask them to describe the food, cut it up if need be.
Or help you serve it up for a buffet or something, I would think.
Absolutely,
you know.
Yes. And then where things are placed on the table... and who else is sat at the table? That's
introductions to people sitting next to you,
Yes, because we forget, you know, because we have visual clues, we can see who's at the table. But making sure whoever you're supporting knows who's at the table, I think is really important. If you're fairly new to vision loss, it's a really good idea to make sure that you have almost like a protector at the event. Don't go just thinking, oh, I know them, I'll be fine. It may be a little bit more difficult than that. Somebody that can help make sure that you have a drink, explaining what's going on around you, and, you know, who's over there, the groups that are forming. And, of course, I've already mentioned explaining the food. Can you tell I'm hungry?
It's dinner time. That's the problem, it's dinner time, right?
The food situation is useful too.
For sure, yeah. Because I guess the thing we're trying to make sure is that the person with vision loss or with low vision is feeling comfortable. And it is about making introductions when people walk up and letting them know who's on their right and who's on their left.
Yes.
And specifically, I remember chatting at a horse show once with Phyllis, and another friend of mine was there, and we were having this conversation with her. And then my friend said, "Okay, great to see you, love. I'm going to be leaving now." Because the person who's blind might think the conversation is still going on and waiting for a response or something, so or ask a question, and then there's nobody there, you know. And is it okay if someone has no vision and you've been introduced? Is it okay to like touch them on their elbow and go to shake their hand, or to make some sort of physical contact? It depends on the person, I guess.
It does depend on the person, but I would always ask. I mean, I'm terrible at it. You know, I've got my clients. I've become so close to some of my clients.
Sure, you just walk up to them.
I touch their elbow or something, and that, of course, that can make somebody who's totally blind jump.
Startled, yes.
So
absolutely.
It's getting used to saying to them,
I'm going
do you mind
to touch
if I touch you? Or yes, I'm going
Let me
to
lead you over here. Let me turn you this way, type thing.
Yeah.
So that they are oriented.
Let them know, so you're not making somebody jump all the time, because they're not necessarily expecting it.
For sure, especially as we're saying for those new to vision loss too. Once folks have become accustomed to life in social situations, a lot of these specific points sort of come naturally.
That's right.
And stuff, right?
Yes, yeah. And if you feel ready, those new to vision loss, saying something about your vision loss, but keeping it short, you don't need to go into anything medical, can really help. So you could say something like, I'm having a bit of trouble with my eyes these days, or I can't see much in this light. You know, just try and keep it simple.
Sure.
I do have a few clients, though, that feel that it's not anybody else's
business if
they
can't
have
see.
sight loss. That's right. But I want to try and turn that around, because if people don't know, then they're, you know, you can come over as being a bit rude or standoffish
or abrupt or all of the above. Right.
So I completely appreciate how difficult it is. You don't always want people to know your business, so you don't have to, you know, be long-winded about it. You can just make it short, but it really is helpful for those of us that are sighted to know, you know,
when someone is does have vision loss of in some perspective. That's pretty important. And like you said, you know, hopefully those who are dealing with it become comfortable, you know, trying to relieve the awkwardness of everyone else who doesn't know what they should do. So that's the other side of it.
I find that there is an element with some clients that, well, you know, why should I have to go to the trouble? But if you want to be integrated and be able to enjoy things, then as harsh as it may sound, that attitude needs to be left at the doorstep and come on in with a really good, positive
absolutely
attitude, which can be really hard to do too. You know, it can be hard.
All of these things can lead to a little bit of anxiety. Just going to any party, even for people with vision, can be anxious.
Exactly. So because I've put some tips together a little bit further on as we're talking, and I was thinking they're hard for me to do, but they are tips that I was checking out that apparently work. So which are good for those of us that are sighted and perhaps not as confident in social situations as we would be in work situations. You know?
Right.
But going with a companion will ease things for you in your confidence level. But be mindful that if people don't know that you have vision loss, we tend to naturally migrate to people that we're making eye contact with. You know, to talk to. So it's helpful to talk with a family member or a friend and let them know that you need guidance.
Absolutely.
I think this can be hard, like we've just mentioned, but it eases the way for you.
It's worth it in the end
confident.
to overcome that little bit of awkwardness with a friend or a colleague, and then, you know, of course, the night will hopefully just get jolly as the time goes on, and avoiding, you know, sometimes if you're somewhere at a situation or at an event, I should say, with someone with sight loss. Try not to let them be sort of just abandoned or sat somewhere, right?
That's really important. To come on to that. I was just going to come on to that. So one of the things that my clients dread and have mentioned many times through the years is gatherings where they're just being placed somewhere or stuck in a corner or in the fringes of what's really going on.
Sure.
And being an active, and because of that, not being able to be an active participant. And I can understand sometimes why people might do that. It's because they think, well, they're safe over there. They're not going to get into any difficulties.
Fall on anything or bump into anything or whatever.
Yes, or nobody's going to trip over them or something. But no, it's no to that.
Yes, that's a hard
no to that. Yeah, so I have a couple of ideas for that. And the first one is to project positivity, even though you might feeling as nervous as anything.
For sure.
Really project that positivity, a cheery image, so that people who are rushing around will be a bit more chatty and comfortable with you. I'm so sorry, those of you with vision loss, that it's up to you to make other people comfortable.
Generally,
because people with that don't understand sight loss really don't know how to
act around. Yeah,
they don't,
for sure.
and they might say, "See over there," and then they'll be thinking they'll beat
gosh,
themselves up for weeks
that.
for not saying that. Of course, you can say that,
Yeah.
but it's just. And I'm so sorry. It's making those of us with sight comfortable.
Sure. But
And
it's
this
necessary.
can take a lot of this can take a lot of courage.
Sure.
So present yourself as a person who is approachable and more than adequate to be able to do anything.
And hold a conversation too, and have an opinion and that stuff, right?
Yes, and to be included,
be engaged.
because you're worth it.
Yeah. And I would encourage people with sight loss to be, if they can be, quite wry and witty in any situation.
Yes.
Like, I bet Stevie Wonder could see that bright light. You got to use things like that,
absolutely.
and I know Stevie wouldn't mind you mentioning his name either. So there you go. It's always, to have some sort of reference like that, and to bring some brevity or levity, I should say, not brevity, to the conversation is important sometimes, and can be just the icebreaker necessary for you to be way involved. And then things like, party games get going around where people do word association, so you can hear just fine.
Yes.
So if you get into some of those party games where it's like clap, clap, snap, snap, and you do word association, those are great things to engage folks with.
That is, and that's another point, actually, for those with vision loss. It's useful if you're in a situation like that to be able to be against a wall, rather than out in the middle of somewhere.
Absolutely,
to be able to hear it better and take. Because I've had some clients recently, actually, one client in particular, tell me how difficult it is for them. Because some people say that when you have vision loss, then your hearing gets better. Well, that's not strictly true, but because of when you're born and all that. But anyway, I won't go into that right now. I have touched on that in another episode. But she was saying for her, being against a wall, because she has to concentrate on her hearing more, actually helps her. So I thought that was quite interesting. So be aware of that as well. And if somebody wants to place you somewhere out of the way, say, I don't want to sit down. Be brave and speak up for yourself. And try and find a space or a seat near the kitchen, because we all know that the party happens in the kitchen. Why is that?
It just is, because everyone's hungry.
Their name must be Theresa.
For sure.
So why, go be near the kitchen, or stand near the entrance, but
or the
of course
snack table.
not in the way.
Yes,
or near the snack table.
And just ask someone, say, I'm not in the way here, am I?
Yes.
Okay. And be able to keep your hand on something, or know you have something next to you, like the back of a chair or a bookcase or something like that. I'm sure is very helpful for when you have to orient yourself.
Absolutely. Not standing in the middle of the room. That's not going to help.
Sure.
That's not going to help you with spatial awareness, and also you could be in the way a lot.
Sure.
But standing somewhere, even if it's on your own, the interesting thing is that if you stand on your own, people don't know you're actually standing on your own.
Sure.
We think, we're standing on our own, nobody's talking to us.
Sure.
But if you wait there for a short time, somebody normally comes up to speak to you.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's amazing how that works, because
that's because we're gregarious mammals on our good days. We are.
Yeah.
Yeah, we seek company and interaction with others, for sure. Yeah. So yeah, and the other great tips here, if you're comfortable approaching groups and you're by yourself, look for an opening in a circle. These, of course, for folks with low vision. If you have total vision loss, it's a little more challenging.
Yeah.
But especially if someone knows you and then they'll greet you. And if you've forgotten someone's name, you can ask, I tell the joke that my sometimers is bad today because sometimes I forget,
Yes.
And, or if you can't see them clearly, you can certainly ask someone to give a name to you again if this is someone you've met before.
Yes, well, do you know, I've just started doing that myself. So I'm meeting such a lot of new people here over the few years that I've been here. And then I might see them when I'm out doing an activity and then they're dressed in something completely different. Well, okay, so I love rowing.
Sure.
So I might see somebody in their rowing gear and then I see them out in town and I'm thinking, I know you. Where do I know you from?
Sure, yeah.
And I've decided now that I'm always just going to say, I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name, or can you remind me of your name?
Yes, yeah.
Because nine times out of 10, they've forgotten you too.
Sure.
So I find that's I've just started doing this over the last few weeks, and I'm getting more and more confident with it because the other person doesn't remember me. I know that they should remember who I am. They don't remember me either. So that's another really good thing. And also, you could say, I'm not able to recognise you in this light. Something like, I'm having trouble with recognising you. I have very little sight. I can't see faces.
Sure.
It's better than saying, I've forgotten your name, or being a bit standoffish with it, being a bit too nervous to come forward and say, I don't know your name. You've got the greatest excuse to be able to move the conversation away in a positive way.
Absolutely. Because then you can say, I have low vision. What's your excuse? No, you should not do that.
No, but a joke. I was just thinking that. And yes, it was a joke. Yeah.
Let someone know when you need help. I think that's pretty important because a whole bunch of people, even with 20/20 vision, are afraid to admit they don't know something or don't know where something is. You have to be your own advocate. I talked about that in for medical reasons. You have to be your own best advocate. Absolutely. But if you need help at a party, then ask. People are usually more than willing to help where they can.
Yes, they are.
For sure.
Very
They're at a
much.
party. They're in a good mood.
Yes.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Yes, and looking for, visual clues.
Sure.
And be more comfortable. They'll be more comfortable. People are more comfortable around you.
Sure.
If you open up to them, they're going to open up to you, because remember, people that don't understand sight loss can be really nervous of how to approach you and what to say to you when when they're new to understanding it themselves. Yeah, so if you can't put a name to a face, it's a good idea to repeat the name back to them. You can ask them how to spell it, so it goes into your memory a bit more. That certainly has started working for me, particularly in Bermuda. There's some beautiful names out there
unusual
that I've
spelling
never heard
sometimes,
before. Yes, and unusual spelling. So being able to have it out, spell it out can really help. And of course, if you really like them, you could even ask them to add their name to your smartphone.
There you go.
You don't necessarily have to exchange numbers, but it's just another way of having their name, or put it in your smartphone. And actually, I do this whenever I'm doing training and I'm with a lot of new people. I will write in my notebook, as people introduce themselves, I will write in my notebook, Joanna, Phyllis, Calvina, in the order that people say their name. And that really helps as well with trying to remember who you're with. Like that's another tip that helps me a lot. Yeah, so when you're struggling to connect with people and being involved in conversation, don't hover in the outskirts.
Sure.
Join in a group with people who are talking. somebody looks up, sees you, makes eye contact, which is what I've already said. So
Sure.
you have to be bold,
Yeah.
which is not the easiest. It can be easier if you have a white cane, because that's a visual thing, and that's a visual clue
Yes.
for us people with sight. But walking up and being cheerful and firm and saying, do you mind if I join you? My name is Theresa. I'd be really surprised if they said no.
Yeah, that's
and
just
didn't
rude.
welcome you. Yes. But that is confidence, and
Yeah,
having
there's
that
no other way.
confidence to do that. And as I've already mentioned, just building your confidence over. I'm taking a leaf out of this book.
Sure.
Building your confidence over time and very quickly actually works well.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what about if you're the one hosting? That's a little more complicated, Teresa, I would think, or has its challenges. It doesn't have to be.
It has its challenges,
Sure.
but again, you can take control of the situation. So start small.
Yes.
Invite a couple of people over for a drink or a coffee. In fact,
Tea and cookies. I love that one.
Yes, tea and cookies. I actually had a client a few years ago who used to love to entertain and wasn't letting her friends know that she was experiencing sight loss and deteriorating very quickly, and she was becoming more and more embarrassed. And one day she cooked pizza for her friends and burnt the pizza.
Sure.
And that was it. Her friends and
Confidence,
inviting friends
yeah.
was blown.
Gone,
She
yes.
wasn't having that at all. So that's something that I can guide with, though. If you get in touch with me,
Sure.
you know, and there's something simple that you're wanting to correct, well, even more complex too, but something that you're wanting to be able to do for your friends, we can look at strategies to be able to support
To help
you with
you.
that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's part of the training that I provide.
Yeah.
But like I said, you know, start by putting, if you've got tea and cookies, you could put a napkin underneath the cookies on the plate, so that when you're carrying them over to the table or you're handing them round, they're not falling
Gonna
all
slide
over the
off,
place.
yeah.
Yes, not sliding. You can have contrast is good. So if you've got a bright coloured mugs or cups and a light coloured tablecloth, you can see where you're
placing things.
them.
Yeah, it's for low vision folks.
Yes,
yeah,
for low vision, that
Sure.
can help. Providing things, you know, already being prepared before anybody arrives,
Sure.
and putting things on a tray
Sure.
can help too, so that you're just carrying the tray over, and then you can ask people to pour their own tea,
Sure.
or even having coffee plugged in.
Your coffee
they
maker
can make
ready.
their
They
own.
can make their own now. But
They
you
can
know,
pour their own.
you're basically giving just basic hosting for someone sighted as well. It makes
Yes.
sense to prepare ahead of time,
Yes.
to have things on a tray if you're going to be moving from one room to another as you greet people, is what we would all do. So I think sometimes with vision loss, you think you've forgotten all the things you knew before,
Yes,
and you're just
that's
figuring
right.
out a way to do them. Right?
Yes, that's right. And another tip is when people are starting to arrive, you can greet them and actually seat them yourself. You can let them know where you would like them to sit, because then you'll remember where they're sat, if that makes sense. So instead of people coming into the room all together, or just seating themselves,
Sort of milling around. Yeah.
Yes, you know where they are, which will ease you if you're wanting to give
To address them
something
or something. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a great idea. You start small, and then, you know, if that goes well, you can, you know,
can
do a
build
little
up.
bit more.
Yes, and remember, it's your home, so it's your rules.
Yeah.
And don't let anybody else take over.
Sure.
You
Sometimes
know.
folks do mean well.
They
And
do.
might get a little fussy. But again, it's about having those conversations, about asking for help when you do need it too. Again, like we said.
Yes.
You know, that's the thing. Like you said, okay, I've gotten everything ready. Pour your own cup, put what you like in it. Here's the
Yes.
milk, here's the sugar. We've got this, and this.
And hope they have gingerbread. I still haven't made
You haven't made
gingerbread.
the gingerbread yet, Teresa.
And I do love the gingerbread here.
Gosh. New Year's resolution. Someone who's listening now is going to put poor Theresa, get her off the guilty stand here, and make this gingerbread thing happen with the folks at Beacon
January.
House.
I'm back on the 13th of January. On the 15th of January, my cooking class, we are making gingerbread. It is set in stone.
Sure,
it is happening.
She's have everything prepared before she goes away for the holiday, so it's there for when she gets back. All jokes aside, though, all of these things we're talking about is ways to help people host again by having the classes at Vision Bermuda. They can understand that, okay, I can make tea sandwiches then and not just have biscuits, you know, and I can have a coffee cake or a gingerbread, you know, depending on which recipes you're going to get down. It's always really hard to start, but like you said, we want to encourage people to ask for the help they need from Theresa and her colleagues that will help you and even come to your home and help you understand, you know, how you can stay ahead of it and have everything in place for when you want to
absolutely
do your hosting. And
when you graduate to a larger gathering, so you want to have some people around for dinner.
Sure.
Again, think about your seating plan, where you want them to be.
Sure.
Because in your mind then you'll know who's talking and, you know, who's doing what and what you want to ask them to do, but keeping it really simple. So maybe just a one-pot meal with some bread rolls and a salad, and a very easy dessert, and invite people to serve themselves. We don't mind, and then of course we also get to decide on how big or small we want our portions to be.
Sizes can be controlled.
Yeah. And if you've got that one persistent person who really wants to help, then prepare a plate of canapes or something and say, oh, yes, could you pass these around? Or could you make sure everybody's got a drink? You know, that type of thing.
Pour the cider or whatever.
If you don't want somebody in the kitchen with you, then let them know that. You know,
you can let them know, I've been practicing. I need to get through this on my own tonight. Thank you for everything. But I will holler at you if something goes awry, you know?
Yes, because people can be a little bit stressed when it comes to creating something for those that they love. You know, they can start to get a little bit apprehensive. And we want as less stress as possible. So just say out the kitchen, and you'd really help me if you could do this or that, you know. And another big tip, because, oh my goodness, I can't believe the time. Another big tip is to have a tray where the dirties can be placed. Yeah,
that makes
sense
away, too.
Rather than lots of different trips in and out of the kitchen. Yes, but they could help with washing up.
I was just going to say,
I was just thinking about that.
As someone, I would be the first to say, yes, you can. Put your hands right in that soapy water, or stack the dishwasher, however it works. But you will make a bunch of people feel really, really worthy and like they did something special if you let them help with the washing up.
Washing up, maybe. Oh, sorry, it's time to go now. My ride's just arriving.
There are some that will do that, but most.
No, but most will.
Yeah, most will. I think we have to remember that, you know, nobody's perfect. Even those of us with 20/20 vision are up to burn the pizza now and then, or spill the sauce, or whatever it may be. But the best thing is to be gentle with yourself, you know.
Absolutely. Nothing has to be perfect. Nothing has to be matching.
You don't have to use your best china. You can use the other stuff, paper plates, you know, the ones that can be thrown away. This is all, I think, wonderful tips for folks coming up for this holiday season. I think your last point here, the main thing is try to relax and have some fun.
Yes, please.
You know, try to do that, you know. I think we've covered it really well this time, Theresa. I know it's not the first time we've gone over people going out.
We've gone over,
but this is really helpful, I think, for those, even if with family gatherings, company gatherings, or even hosting in their own homes. So, yeah, let's just leave them with the housekeeping stuff on how to contact you, Theresa, and we can look forward to something happening in the new year.
Thank you. Our email is support@visionbermuda.bm, or you can use info@visionbermuda.bm. The phone number is 292-3231.
Sure.
And although our Facebook isn't used every single day. We're working on it. Please follow and like us on Facebook, which is simply Vision Bermuda. And I'd just like to thank you, Shelley, for a fantastic year.
It's been a good year, Theresa. It has. You're welcome.
Brilliant Vision Talks. You make it so easy for me when I think about how I was when I first arrived doing these. So
Deer
thank
in the
you
headlight
so
days,
much.
yes.
And I wish you and everybody that listens a really lovely, happy, peaceful holiday season. And I'm looking forward to I'm away on vacation for the holiday season, but I'm back on the 13th of January.
Awesome.
And I can't wait to be back and supporting all my new clients and all those existing clients.
Awesome.
A great 2025. We've got some amazing things in the pipeline, which I don't have time to share with you. So,
but that's okay.
But that can be wait for January.
For the new year. Yeah, will be lots to talk about.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks so much for joining us, folks. You've been listening to our monthly Vision Talk chat, and we look forward to the next one coming up on the second Monday in January.